611.
This is All About Home Construction, and here's your hosts, Terry Cannell Beck and Randy Blake.
Good morning, Randy.
Morning, Terry.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you.
That's right.
Did you feed the ducks this morning?
I did. They're fed.
Just
We're
making
good.
sure they got to turn the generator.
Quack, quack, quack. They're out swimming in the creek.
Yep.
This
Water levels up a little bit, so they're able to go out.
Must have been
and
a
swim.
good. I don't know. Must have been a good rain last night because the hay was laying down.
It was a good drencher there, and at least seemed like to me like one of those good not like destroying everything kind of downpours. It floods, but one of those good ones that kind of gets everything good and wet.
Well,
So,
I think we needed it.
it's definitely been dry.
We're not under the fire now.
That's it.
Yesterday they had 2 counties down around Rockingham that were still under no burning ban.
Yep. So, all about home construction here on WAETA. And again, we appreciate all of our listeners. Give us a call today, 262-1567. And happy Memorial Day weekend, Randy.
Yes, it is. I guess it's a big weekend for us.
That's it.
So, Terry's got something he'll read here for you.
Yeah. So the VFW, of course, the Memorial Day service going on Memorial Day, and that'll start at the VFW Memorial on Monday, of course, at 1 o'clock at the Memorial.
Yep, and the mall's not having it this year.
Correct.
I guess due to COVID and stuff and lack of vaccination. Well, people want to be safe.
Yep, that's it. So, but that's the place to go, and it's going to be a nice day too. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be a little warmer, so it'll be a good time to get out and head out. So head out to the VFW at 1 o'clock, and they'll have you guys are having a service at the memorial.
Yep.
There, and
Jim Sparter is a Vietnam vet that actually designed it. When we went through all the memorial uptown, they said there was no memorial.
Right.
But there has been there's 4 memorials in the county.
Right.
And but Jim Sparter, he's the gentleman that designed it and built it. And there is a plaque up there with family or military people that were killed in battle.
Right.
From Watauga County.
That's it. And it's it's to me, it's great because it's such an important remembrance. That's what Memorial Day is all about, and we'll get into that later on. But it's nice to have something like that that can serve as just as that memory, as that memorial, it's
yes. So don't forget it. About what people. There's a lot of people forgetting about military people.
Right.
But the military has what they have done for this country is remarkable.
Sure.
Let's go back to the memorial. Jim, it's been a pleasure to know him. He's in his mid-70s now. He was a medic in Vietnam, but he actually come back as a conscientious objector because he didn't like the way the war was going, like a lot of guys do.
Sure.
But they all did their part.
Right.
And the memorial will be led by the commander right now. He was a gunny, which we've had him on the radio show several times. It was Gunny Claus, Marine. And but, they really care.
That's it.
They don't ever talk about it except on the day they had a bad day.
Right.
But they still care about everybody out there. And it doesn't make any difference. They'll talk about people that they met from World War I that's deceased.
Yeah.
And they talk about the young guys about their experience in Afghanistan, Iraq, things like that. So,
well, and that's the thing, like I'm in the generation, of course, growing up. You think about the VFW, you think about these veterans in general, and it really, I was of the Vietnam generation in terms of looking up to elders and to the the veterans. You know, like I mean, that's I grew up, and that's you know that was the generation of that had above me, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
But I still remember as a kid, of course, the Korean and even some World War II vets. When I was younger, and so it's it's definitely one of those things. And then I think because of that, like I forget, I guess not really forget, but like it doesn't. The reality hasn't set into me where people my age now are vets of these more recent wars. And
correct.
And then I think back, like I've got lots of friends who who are veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, the United States itself has progressed so fast with what they do that we lose more every year from training accidents than we do in battle.
Yeah.
But I mean, they can't stop everybody from dying in battle, but they do try.
Sure.
And get back to my age, as a young boy in Boy Scouts, their daddies were from World War II. So,
right.
But the thing about it is vets don't talk to normal people.
Sure.
About what they accomplished or what they lived through in World War II.
Right.
But at night, where all the other kids would be snoring, I'd be wide awake listening to their stories.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be that most of the fathers in the Boy Scout troop up in Ohio served in the Pacific Theater in World War II.
Okay.
So I never really heard anything about, the
Sure.
European theater. Yeah. I know that I'd lost a family member in a B-17 during, World War II.
Right.
But the Pacific Theater, they got to talking about it. And, and then later in school you find out guys that you never knew was in war were in war.
Right.
And they talk about being in the most, the Navy was the big thing in the Pacific.
Sure.
But they talk about the kamikaze attacks and stuff like that. And I've had the privilege to meet some wild people. Not really, I shouldn't say wild people, but people that served in the military that have done some
just remarkable, right?
They survived. Yeah. Well, I don't know how to specifically talk about it, but I got to meet one of the Bataan Death March survivors. He was American.
Wow.
And believe it or not, they just lost him this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't know that if it wouldn't have been from another vet come from Pinehurst.
Okay.
And but the thought of what they marched these guys through, and they survived.
Right. That's crazy. I mean, it's it's something we can't fathom. I mean, we watch it on movies and TVs and things like that, but even that is like it doesn't even give you a sense of the reality of it.
Well, it's Hollywood.
Right.
My dad made us watch. My dad was a Korean vet.
Right.
And he made us watch every military movie out there. He said, even though it's Hollywood, there's some point of truth to every movie out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And but the point of it is we were trained to go to war.
Right.
Because of what my dad went through.
Sure.
A lot of kids out here, they wouldn't have a clue. Right. If you told them to put a backpack on and walk 20 miles, they'd look at you like, what? I don't even walk to the corner store to get any bubble gum.
No, you're right. You're right.
I got a medal somewhere in my stuff over the years. I don't know where it is, where I walked. In 1966, I did the 26-mile hike around Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Okay.
And we had the privilege of the Boy Scouts to go in there.
Cool. That's cool.
The Air Force put us up in the barracks. They fed us 3 times a day. And we got to go to the museum. So if you ever take your kids to the museums.
Yes, for sure.
And learn the history of who we are.
Yep.
Not what you want.
Exactly. Well, history is one of those things, and it's such a touchy subject these days because it's so politicized. And we don't get political in the show, but it's one of those things that we definitely like. To me, if you're asking me like what I think, like you can look back at your history and as we're talking about the nation here, we look at the nation's history like. We shouldn't be happy and proud about every little thing that we've done, and we've certainly done some bad things, but we've done some good things. And my thing is, you can't overlook, you can't pick and choose the history. You
wanna
yeah,
see
you have to
or
know it
hear.
all. Otherwise, because that, like it or not, that's the identity of who we are as a nation. But that's how you live and learn, and think about it yourself. The whole analogy of a kid touching the hot stove, you learn from that, you grow from that, and you don't forget that. And it's the same sort of thing. Like when you as a nation, when we talk about history, and I'm not saying we're trying to rewrite history sometimes, but we try to definitely cover it up and hide a lot of it. And if you forget that, you forget where you're coming from, then what's going to keep you from going back to the bad, I guess. That's where at least that's my thoughts on it.
Well, and then you got countries that don't care about human life.
Right.
And it happens to be we're the country that does.
I think so.
Supposedly.
Yeah, definitely. But no, so they are having the memorial service at the VFW on Monday at 1:00. Now, you guys have some other interesting news here going on, not necessarily with the memorial itself, but to help with Memorial Day in a larger celebration. The auxiliary president's working with Samaritan's Purse.
Yes, and they actually called us, and they wanted a list of war. They're going to call out the names of every vet in Watauga County from World War I on that has died in battle.
That's cool.
And you can listen to them on their webpage, and it's going to be a podcast live. So check them out.
That's cool.
And we thank them for their help.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah. So they're going to read all the names from that's the World War I to Vietnam veterans. So that's in the region here, right?
Yep, sure is.
County. That's cool.
And but if you ever get a chance to go by, I mean, it ain't very fancy. It's just a block structure with a flagpole with some bronze plaques on it in remembrance of our vets that died.
Well, cool.
Did you know where the birthplace of Memorial Day was?
Well, let's get into that. So there's like 20 different places that claim to be the birthplace of Memorial/Decoration Day.
But in 1966, the federal government declared that it was the birthplace of Memorial Day.
Yeah, where's that?
Waterloo, New York.
Waterloo, New York.
Even though people had been starting after the Civil War on certain times of the year remembering their dead.
That's it. Well.
In the worst war in U.S. history.
That's it. I'll tell you what, let's take a break, and then we'll get into some history. We like little history on this show. We'll get into a little history about Memorial Day here on All About Home Construction. Thanks for listening to us. We'll be right back.
This June 14th and 15th, step back in time. Witness history come alive at Defending the Homeland, the Lee County Resolve, a Civil War reenactment in Pennington Gap, Virginia. Follow the legendary Wilderness Road as the Confederate Home Guard stood firm against the Union forces. Experience the bravery and the resilience of those who defended their homeland. And the best part, it's a free event for spectators to come and experience the life in the Civil War. Don't miss this powerful portrayal of Lee County's pivotal Civil War story. Defending the Homeland, the Lee County Resolve, June 14th and 15th in Pennington Gap.
That's right. All About Home Construction here on WATA. Thanks for listening to us.
I believe you told me a fib. You didn't feed them ducks because they played that song again.
They played it again. I know. I was trying to play Ray Charles, and the bumper music played instead. Sorry about that. We'll get Ray Charles coming on later on next break. Anyway, happy Saturday. Thanks for listening to us.
Gosh, yeah.
And happy Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be a decent weekend. We get past today with the rain. Tomorrow's going to turn off more sunny, and then Memorial Day itself is going to be a nice day, so we can get out and enjoy it. Before we get back into the show, there is Randy, the Fallen Officers Benefit Car Wash going on here in Boone at the Booney's Pizza. That's going on until 3:00 today.
All right.
If you'd like to go over and help support, donate some money, get your car washed, cash only. You can get it off, and help a little benefit there to help the Fallen Officers Fund. Anyway,
Patrick Burke is the manager over there, and I believe his daddy was a naval officer.
that's cool.
and which was my salesman for several years on the food that I purchased for the VFW.
Okay, cool.
So, see, you never know who you meet out there and what their ties are.
Exactly. Well, we're talking a little bit here about the Memorial Day, and I was sort of thought about this, and we've all heard this, the Gettysburg Address, but Lincoln had said, in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men living and dead who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract.
Yep.
And I think that's I don't know. To me, when I think about Memorial Day, that's sort of the line that I always think about. And it's there's nothing we can say or do that would do more than what they've already done. And so that's to me, that's always, I don't know. I just always like that part of the Gettysburg Address for when it comes to Memorial Day.
And I guarantee you that most people don't know that the earliest Memorial Day ceremonies was held by formerly enslaved people.
Right. So
in Waterloo, New York.
Yeah. In
1866.
When you go back, so when you really look back at the history of it, of Memorial Day itself, it really, the first Memorial Day services we had, came, they called them Decoration Day at the time.
Correct.
It had a different name, but it became Memorial Day. But it's a remembrance for those. It started out again, in the 1800s and the 1860s with memorial services to those both sides, those who had fallen. Now, if you really look back in history, during the actual Civil War, there was some calls to to have these memorial type days, remembrance days, days that were set aside. But they really weren't. It was wartime, right? So there wasn't any national mandate for it. But it wasn't until the like you said, the 1860s, after the war, 68 is in 66, 68.
68
is when you really start pushing in, I guess you would say, like that push to create an actual thing. One of the first celebrations that took place was in 68, was at, of course, Arlington National Cemetery. And again, it was sort of known as Decoration Day at the time. And it wasn't until the turn of the century when they called it Memorial Day.
Yep.
But it's one of those things. So, but what I was going back to a little bit earlier. So in 1865 in Mississippi, Virginia, and South Carolina, they kind of set the presence of Memorial Days with even here in North Carolina. But that's when they started doing some ceremonies throughout, and it kind of set put that idea. But you're right. President Lyndon Johnson was the one who proclaimed Waterloo, New York, as the birthplace of Memorial Day, because that's when it became like a formal observance. In 1866 was the first time they did. But it's kind of funny. You go back, like I said, several different places, like Pennsylvania. There's a Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, claims that they're the first. So I guess there's a lot of pride. I guess it was where I'm trying to go with this. And
on all sides.
Yeah, people to do it and go back, and it's cool. It wasn't until 1971, Randy, that the federal law changed to make it the last Monday in May. So.
Good.
But yeah, I love digging into this history. Of course, I love the Civil War period. I think the mid 1800s, 1850s to 1870s, to me is just an interesting time period in the U.S. history anyway. Not just for the war, but I kind of like that time period.
Well, a lot of people do. Look at the reenactment.
Yep.
I mean, I don't do it. I had a friend of mine that did it, and that was his favorite thing was going to these battlefields and digging up relics.
Yeah.
And one of the things he showed me he dug up in Gettysburg was a .44 caliber black powder revolver.
Yeah, that's cool.
Army revolver.
Yeah.
And he had, at one time, he had 27 flintlocks. They was flintlocks, they
Right.
were percussion locks.
Yep.
They fought with everything during
Yep.
the Civil War.
Yep.
And that he had in restoration.
That's cool.
And
That's cool.
but one thing, think about your heritage. And, how many parents have told their kids about their heritage?
Yep.
Do you really know where you come from?
Right.
What your family's accomplished?
Yeah.
I got one more side I got to check on. But I got 3 sides that fought in the Revolutionary War
That's cool.
to free this country from England.
That's cool.
And so
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing,
teach your kids about history,
Yeah.
so maybe they won't make the same mistakes.
Well, and that's where I was going with it before, is that you have to know this history, you have to know it, and you need to celebrate the good, but that doesn't mean ignore the bad and bury the bad. It's an ongoing debate, I know, and like I said, I know it's so politicized these days. But we all come from somewhere, and it's just a matter of remembering where that is.
Yep.
So, but we will take another break here. We'll be right back right after this. All About Home Construction. Thanks for listening to us.
The Boone VFW Post 7031 is looking at making improvements to their Veterans Memorial Wall, and you can help. Here's Chuck.
We could do engraved bricks to cover the memorial. It's in honor of the veterans who have served and some that have given their all for our country. And that's the one thing that we feel as the VFW that we can do to honor those who have come before and those who are even present today.
But Chuck, what do we have to do to participate?
You don't have to be a war veteran in order to be a part of this memorial. It's just that you served.
What is the cost?
That fee is only $50, but it's a lifetime investment.
If you would like to help participate by honoring a family member, a friend, or a loved one, you can contact the Boone VFW Post 7031 at 828-264-9570. They are on VFW Drive just off of State Farm Road here in Boone. Thank you for all that have served.
That's right. All About Home Construction here on WAETA. Thanks for listening to us. Give us a call, 262-1567. And we do, we kind of, Randy, but put this show out for all those in the, who had died in the service for our country and protected our country. And we really appreciate that. And we mean that when we say it, too.
Yes.
We definitely couldn't have what we have without those sacrifices, and we appreciate that. We have a caller on the air. Good morning, caller. Oh, let's see if we're there now. Let's try again. Good morning, caller.
It's kind of a fitting that it would be dreary weather for Memorial Day weekend.
That you're right, and I was sort of thinking about that earlier, Bill. Is as we sit back in this nasty little rainy day like this, it does kind of put things in perspective, and just gives you a chance to kind of sit back and reflect a little bit, doesn't it?
It rained last Memorial Day.
That was what I was doing pretty much. I had the occasion to, as an early teen, to have that all-night drive down to Fort Benning, Georgia, to meet the Angel Flight for my favorite first cousin who didn't make it back from Vietnam. And that's something to still yet think of today. That's been quite a while ago.
Sure.
Yep.
Wow, man.
Donnie died in March of 1970, and he is on the wall in D.C.
That's great.
That was something that made an impression, and with 99% of people who don't serve in the military anymore, people have lost touch with that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that, and I mean, I never served, but I know I try to respect and honor those that do. I've got lots of friends who, like I had mentioned earlier, but more recent wars, Vietnam, or with Afghanistan and Iraq and stuff. But I'm again, as I kind of mentioned earlier, I'm the generation that's like we looked up to those coming back from Vietnam, and it's.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, there are times that when your age falls in the gaps of not being required to go.
Sure.
Yeah, Bill, I'm one of them. I got my draft notice in high school. Then they killed the draft. I even got my draft notice while I was in high school. Got my lottery number in the high school, and then after I graduated in '75, the draft was killed.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I understand pretty much exactly. I was in on the last lottery. I had 3 years of Marine Corps ROTC in high school. I was going. I had an axe to grind, and Nixon pulled the plug on it, and then they had that last lottery, the one that they had anyway, but it didn't count. I hadn't quite figured that one out yet.
Right.
Well, it was pretty wild. When I got my lottery number was 63. Dave Adams, he was in the lottery before me that was still active to go, and they bypassed him, so he actually was in the last number of the lottery I was in. My second cousin was number 3 in that lottery. So there'd been 3 of us right here within 2 miles of each other that if they would have drafted us would have been going at the same time. So
yeah, wow, yeah, that's funny. With the 3 years of the Marines ROTC, I was A1A, and they pulled my number. It was 318. Wow. I would have been going anyway.
Well, my dad died at 85. And at 85, he still had his draft card because he said federal law mandated you carry it.
Well, yeah, Pop's Social Security card said it was illegal to use for anything other than Social Security purposes, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and now that's your USA corporate ID number.
Right. That's it. But
yep, that's right.
But
Bill,
my heart goes out to everybody that has lost a family member or loved one in any of the conflicts we've been in. We all go into it thinking that we're doing the right thing, and sometimes you have to question that a bit. But the American spirit pretty much has been that you're going to go and do the right thing for the right reasons, and come what may. But there have been a few people that had that check cashed, and up to and including. So I'll get off of here. I just wanted to throw that in. I hope you guys have a good weekend. All right.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story with us too. And
come out and see us Monday.
All right. Yep, I plan to.
That's it. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate that. Give us a call, 262-1567. And Bill, we do appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Yes, we do.
Sorry you had to do it. Sorry you had to go through it, but we do appreciate you letting us know and sharing it. And,
not all families are lucky enough.
That's it. That's it. And as we sort of think back on Memorial Day, Randy, again, when we think back, it's at this point in our nation, it's to memorize all of those, not just we had mentioned the beginning of it was of course in the Civil War, but then when things kind of became national, we decided it's for all those,
correct,
all wars, and when you look back, you got that. The most combat deaths occurred for the nation occurred in World War II, of course, as you might suspect, with 291,557.
That's a lot. But then we turn around, and in that same conflict, there's 72,598 people still missing that's never been found.
Yeah, so that wow. the second, of course, would be the American. This is ranked by the total numbers. So the American Civil War was just below that with 214,938 U.S. Combat
I
deaths.
can't find out how many's missing on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and that's an interesting number too, because I don't have all the I need to go back and look at that number. I'm curious how curious how they came up with that total for that one, because you have like 600. You had 600 something thousand plus and 400 something thousand casualties on that one. 600,000 Union casualties and 800 or 400,000 Confederate casualties for that war. So that's I don't know. I guess that's combat deaths is the number that I had originally given you, not just total casualties. So when you look in total casualties, it certainly goes up, and World War II, when you look at total casualties there, not combat, it's over 1 million. It's a million casualties there.
Yeah.
So, World War I, total casualties is 320,518
I don't have a listing for how many was missing there.
for World War I.
There are some wild movies out there about World War I, and on Netflix. One's there's not really a lot from Americans, but one from the BBC is "We Will Not Grow Old."
Yep.
So watch that,
Well,
and
it's
pretty wild what they went through.
For sure. I do see here 3,350 is the missing, according to this, the missing number for World War I.
Well, that wasn't too bad.
Well, I think through the years too, there's been a lot to come out on that. Korean War, 128,650 U.S. total casualties.
And out of that war, 7,580 are still missing.
Yep.
And most of those are missing in North Korea, where they buried them in shallow grave, or buried them in graves to go back and get them.
Yeah.
And North Korea's never allowed us to go back.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. The Vietnam War, 200,454 total casualties.
And 1,587 are still missing. And Vietnam is allowing us to go back and try to find our dead. 4 or 5 years ago, one of the members of the VFW actually was allowed to go back to Vietnam because they had a battle at a certain LZ, and one of their personnel got captured and tortured and stuff, and they did find a tooth. And he's been persistent every month of calling, and
Wow.
So he's supposed to be finding out about the DNA, because
That's cool.
if most people don't realize about this, with the DNA technology, if they can find a tooth or one bone that they can track the DNA back to their records,
Right.
they will have a full burial, military burial for that gentleman or
That's
woman.
awesome.
And I did not know that till I watched 60 Minutes. I
That's
thought they
cool.
might have tried to recover the whole
Right.
body, but they don't. They're just trying to locate where they
something. Yeah, that's neat. Gulf War, 1,143, and
are. Two.
2. Yeah.
Yep. And I got to find that. I had that a minute ago, but
Yeah.
they don't have it. I was
so
looking at it a minute ago.
Yeah, two is what I'm showing here on this list. The war in Afghanistan, so this is 2001 to the present, is 20,050 total casualties. And
Wow.
I thought that was, that's
Well, I don't think we've had. Well, 126 during the Cold War and all that stuff still
Right.
missing. So
the Iraq War. This is from 2003 to 2011. Is 36,710. So Yeah, it's sad stuff. Total. And now we jumped over a lot of these little things. And I say little because in terms of like smaller national events, for instance, the Bosnian War. I mean, this list goes back, even has some casualties from the USSR Cold War, like the Berlin blockade, things like that. But when you look at the total, from the Revolutionary War, every military engagement, the total casualties is over 2 million, almost 3 million people. It's 2,852,000 plus total casualties for U.S. And then for the missing, we're over 40,000 still missing from the Revolutionary War to present day.
Wow,
that's it's shocking when you put it that way. It really is. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. The last one, and we'll come right back right after this. Thanks for listening to us.
Are you looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment you need to get the job done? Look no further than Blue Ridge Sawmills. We offer the full line of Hudson sawmills and sawmilling equipment, from portable sawmills to skidding winches. At Blue Ridge Sawmills, we understand that every project is different, which is why we offer a wide range of sawmilling services. We can help you from everything from finding the right mill for your farm, hobby, or even your business. We also offer a variety of sawmilling supplies, such as blades and debarkers, so you can get everything you need in one place. If you're looking for a sawmill dealership that can provide you with the quality equipment and the service you need, then come to Blue Ridge Sawmills. We're here to help you get the job done. Call or visit our Cana, Virginia store at 276-755-3833 or our Asheboro, North Carolina location at 336-964-8304. That's right. All about home construction here on WATA. And again, we appreciate all of our listeners out there. Give us a call, 262-1567. We got about 3 more minutes we can put you on, and appreciate all those that have called on and off the air. And thanks for listening to us. We do appreciate that. And Randy, of course, don't forget the VFW. You guys are having a memorial on Monday, Memorial Day, May 31st at 1 o'clock, and that's going to be out front at the VFW at the actual memorial.
Yep.
Now, I think the weather's going to participate for you as well on Monday. It's going to be kind of a rainy, dreary day today, but it looks like Monday is going to be a nice day. So hopefully everyone can get out to see that service, that memorial service at 1 o'clock. And then, of course, like you had mentioned earlier, the Samaritan's Purse and the auxiliary president at the VFW working together, and they're going to list all of the names on their podcast, on their website. Franklin Graham's daughter-in-law will be reading those names on their podcast on Memorial Day.
Yeah, we thank them.
That's pretty cool, too. So,
and one thing I've not been able to do is thank everybody for coming out for steak night last week.
That's right. We kind of jumped into straight to this, and was glad that it worked out well, and do appreciate everyone coming out for that.
And
it looked good.
We do appreciate everybody comes out for all functions that we have.
That's it for sure. Definitely. So, we just sort of take a moment here as we kind of wrap up the show, and we jumped into a little bit of history about the Memorial Day, and sort of what it means, and I just want to say that there's nothing that we can say, right? Like, and that's where I went back to that Gettysburg Address quote, was that there's nothing that we can say or do that they haven't done better or already, and
Yep.
So I just want to take a moment then just to thank everyone and all the sacrifices that were given, and it's not the sacrifices that the families had to go through as well, and so thank you.
Well, the families go through the hardest part.
Right.
Children growing up without dads, or not necessarily dads, but could have been moms. Yeah. A lot of nurses involved in all these.
Right.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for the nurses, a lot more of them would have died.
Yeah.
But people that cared, that's the biggest thing.
Right.
And like one of the vets said, we were all brothers. They didn't care what color there was. Or what country, or nationality, I should say.
Sure.
Even though how many different people fought for the United States, Indians, blacks, whites, Italians, Germans, a lot of Germans couldn't go to Europe, so they went to Pacific DA.
Right. Yeah.
Irish, so, and that's what they said. We are all brothers.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at this on the World War II Memorial in Arlington. There's a quote here. It says, "We are determined that before the sun sets on this terrible struggle, our flag will be recognized throughout the world as a symbol of freedom on the one hand and of the overwhelming force on the other." So I think that's where we're at, All About Home Construction, another show in the books. We appreciate all of everyone giving us a moment to sit back and kind of think about Memorial Day on this All About Home Construction show. Randy, I hope you have a great weekend. And
You too.
Thank you. And everything works out. We'll see you at the service at the VFW at 1 o'clock on Memorial Day.
Come on and join us.
That's it. Randy, we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, All About Home Construction. Our show airs live on WATA Radio in Boone, North Carolina, every Saturday morning. Check out our Facebook page, All About Home Construction. Leave your tips and comments there. Also, subscribe, like, and share this with a friend.